Hi guys, Marina Lantos here, and I'm super excited to share a beach wave tutorial, which is going to be 3 parts. We have a beach wave perm, we have a haircut, and we have color. So this is going to be my haircut, and as you guys can see, I sectioned off the fringe area, which is going to be the emphasis of the haircut. So our sections are going to be from the top of the round of the head right to the outside of the eyebrow, and we're going to separate that in 2 sections. Using my guarded feather razor, I'm going to keep my blade open and then do a couple of strokes where the blade is a little more on the closed side. That's going to give me lots of texture, lots of movement in that fringe, lots of short and long bits. Now, I hope you've been following us on YouTube with our virtual classes. This way I can do a little bit more of a creative tutorial and less on how to use a razor, but how to be a little bit more artistic with it. What I love about the feather razor is the flexibility that it has on the end result. So of course you want to be precise with it, and of course you want to know the theory behind on how to use it. But when you use it, you want to be a little bit more free and a little bit more organic with it. So I used open and closed stroke for my first major section of the fringe. And now I decided to go through and create a little bit more channels within the haircut to give a little bit more emphasis. So as I mentioned at the beginning, this is going to be a 3-part tutorial. So Marissa, who is one of our educators for East Coast Salon Services, has done a beach wave on our doll head. And now I'm going through and removing the weight where I find that the beach wave is sitting a little bit heavier, right? So everyone's texture is going to be a little bit different. And this is the beauty of using a feather razor, where you can remove weight wherever the curl is sitting a little bit thicker, a little bit heavier, emphasize the curl pattern, and this way you have a little bit more of an organic and a little bit more of a shaggier look. So now my second part of the fringe area is going to be the same thing. Lifting the section a little bit higher, so this way I'm not working on top of the previously cut hair. I'm going to comb the hair directly forward, find the guide underneath, and then keeping my blade pretty open, doing the strokes inside and out to create really strong ridges and really strong channels within the haircut, within the fringe area, because that's what's going to curl up, right? The shorter pieces are going to curl up a little bit tighter, and then the long bits are going to hang out and stick out a little bit more and give that perfect fringe effect. What I love to do with the face frame when I'm doing a shag is I like to disconnect it, right? So I'm using the longest piece of the fringe and I'm going just a little above it. And then I'm creating short and long bits that are going to sit a little bit tighter around the face. And this is great if someone wants to wear the hair back in the ponytail and have some curls come out. This will frame their face and kind of give a little emphasis to the haircut. The next section, we're going to use the longest piece from the fringe. So in this situation, I'm going to use the tip of her nose as a guide and connect it to the existing length. So be careful not to connect this section to the previous one, otherwise you'll have pretty short face frame. We're going to continue working in the same manner until we get to the back of the ear. Now let's repeat the same thing on the opposite side. Keep in mind that this haircut does not have to be perfect. We're using a feather razor. We're creating a very natural look. So you always want to cross-check for balance, but please pay attention to the curl pattern and remove weight where is needed so that the balance of the haircut looks more even to the natural texture. Now that the front of the haircut is done, let's connect it to the back. What I'm doing here is I'm combing hair slightly forward using the longest piece from the face frame. I'm creating a jagged line that's going from short to long. So this is a great way to give that grown out look instead of keeping the outline square, which is what we normally do. This gives a little bit more of that natural look. Now I'm going through, creating a little bit of channels. Again, this will depend on the density of the hair, natural texture, and how much weight you want to remove from each individual section. So right over here, you can tell that there are some areas that are a little bit more on the weaker side. So I'm only removing a little tiny bit. And areas that are a little bit heavier, I'm going in a little bit deeper and a little bit stronger. The next section is removing weight from the back of the head. This section will depend on the overall length of the hair and the density of the hair. So for this particular dial head, I'm using top of the O bone to the top of the ear. I'm going to create a slight disconnection. So this is going to be cut short to long. I'm going to take a vertical section, bring out hair, using open blade, skim the length from short to long, which means the length that's going to be higher up around the occipital bone is going to be shorter and the curls are going to get tighter, while the length that we have established is going to stay the same. The next section, we're going to comb the hair into the previous, which means the length around the ears is only going to be just a little bit longer because each section is going to be combed back just one section back. So careful not to over direct into the center for every section because the length that you're going to preserve around the ears is going to be too long. Always check for the balance, always check for the natural texture. Watch the curl form, and if you feel like the curl is still too weak, remove a little bit more weight. I always assess the shape and the shape of the curl before I continue. I want to make sure that I'm happy with the end result that I'm getting. I could definitely see the weight is being removed and the curl is forming so much nicer. So I could go ahead and continue going in the same manner. The next step is connecting the underneath to the length on the top. Use the shortest piece as your guide. Bring out hair parallel to the floor to make sure that you're not creating too much weight on the top of the head. Create a square cutting line by keeping your blade open. Continue over directing the hair just into the previous section until you get to all the way to the front hairline. And the final wet detail of this haircut is combing the hair all the way forward and removing any length that hangs over the fringe. Always assess the shape and the texture before you continue with drying. After applying styling products that is perfect for your client's texture, I like to groom the hair into the shape I want to see in the haircut. So using a comb, I'm sort of twisting the hair away from the face and placing the hair into the shape that I want to see. So I want it wing out away from the face, but I want the hair to go towards the face. Using clips, clip the hair in place to make sure that when we're diffusing, we're not disturbing the curl pattern. Now, if you want to leave it a little bit more on the natural side, you could always air dry. And if you would like to form the curl a little tighter, you can scrunch and diffuse. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial for our beach wave haircut, and stay tuned for part 3.